everybody bring a change of clothes?
I know, right? I actually thought about that today.
I never had a chance to play a joke before.
I know.
My brain is so not working.
All right.
We can move seats. Pause it. Everyone just move.
It's April 1st, 2019. This is the Finance Committee meeting. It's about 5 p.m. and this meeting is being recorded. Let's just take a quick look at the minute. We'll skip down to the minutes and we'll get right to these guys.
Yeah, the minutes are not done?
Okay, that's fine.
There,
That's fine.
easy. That's off the agenda for tonight.
That's good.
There you go.
Let's get right started then. We can go over the PCF stuff afterwards because we got people waiting. So, I mean, we have it down as library, board, health, fire department. Does anybody have to go first or leave early or anything? It's whoever wants to speak first, I guess. How's that sound?
I thought we were first.
Yeah, she was here 10 minutes early too.
Oh, that's good.
She was waiting for me to come in.
All right, you're first.
Is that okay, Joe?
Absolutely.
So hopefully you all got the stuff, but just in case, we had two level funded budget and one we originally handed in.
No, we didn't get those.
I don't see the level funded yet.
Okay,
But
so
the,
I can give you each the level funded.
Thank you.
Now, we didn't put in the COLA in either one, so.
Okay.
That was mine for a minute.
Yeah, that's my ring too.
Yeah.
Like, wait a minute.
I keep changing them around and everyone changes them, so you never know what.
So Gloria Galinsky's here, she helps me with the budget, she's a volunteer, and Jennifer Labrie is a trustee, so they're here. So, do you want me to start with the level one or the first one we handed in?
Why don't we start with the first one and then we can talk about what happens with the level one.
Okay, great.
You know?
So the first one actually has some more notes on it, more explanations.
Are they both here?
I only have the level funded. Did we even get the original?
It's in the packet of the tiny print.
Oh, okay.
I can give it to you. I have, this isn't tiny.
Oh, okay.
There you go. So you don't have to deal with the tiny.
Oh, there's more information, definitely.
Paperwork.
We didn't get that much.
Let's see, so this is Cindy Palmer, also a trustee.
All right.
Thank you. We have 12 trustees.
12, wow.
Yeah, that's a lot. Okay, so the main reason I wanted to talk to you was because I wanted to explain the accreditation process.
Okay.
And that's, I have that in here on the second page of, the first budget we gave you. It explains the accreditation. So the Mass Board of Library Commissioners accredits the libraries in the state. And we have to, the amount of money we have to get from the town to be accredited is in that second page, $162,187. It's the second page of notes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry, there's a lot of paperwork.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's good.
So that's required?
That's a requirement for accreditation.
Okay.
That's like the minimum.
Okay.
It has to be to the dollar or, they'd actually cause libraries problems if they're under by a dollar. The good news is both budgets are okay on that, but if we went below that, that would be a problem. So accreditation means that we can participate in the whole statewide interlibrary loan system. If we weren't accredited, our patrons couldn't order books from other libraries, and a lot of people do that, so thousands. I have the figures here. So we have 8,600 items come from other libraries, 8,610 in 2018. So, we have to do state aid reports, so we have all these figures.
Okay.
But that's a big thing if you don't get accreditation. And then also, other libraries don't even have to lend to the patrons from Southampton. I don't think we've ever lost accreditation here, but, it's always a big concern. And then the other requirement is the book materials budget. So the requirement is $31,143, and the way they get that money at the state level is it's 19% of the money we get from the town. That's how they decide. In other words, they want libraries to have new materials, and they don't want them to just have old things on the shelf, so they make this requirement It includes all materials, DVDs, books, magazines, e-books, everything. And so, so those are the two important figures. And do you have any questions about that? I just wanted to make sure, because last year
What was the percent again on
it's
that?
19% of the
19%.
amount the town gives. So, yeah.
So out of the 162, 187, at the minute, I know it's been a little slightly more than that. You have to use 31,143 of that.
The thing is,
Okay.
though, we don't have to use it all from town money. Like, they will, if, say we get 162,187 from the town, if we need that for payroll and maintenance and utilities and some book money, it's okay if the Friends give us a little bit or something like that. So, because some people think that that whole thing has to come out of the town budget, but it doesn't. But it is a requirement. And the town has been giving us almost all of that in the last couple of years. Because we have to do a lot of fundraising for other things, like programming and it's a lot of it goes to programming, or if we want to go to a conference or something, or any incidentals come from fundraising. Also, the Friends have given us money, for instance, for new bookshelves, so that saved the town money. They gave us money to buy a cleaner for the discs so that we don't have to throw out so many DVDs. That was $1,000. They gave us some money for a book cart, so we do get money from the Friends for items like that. Okay, so that was the most important thing. I wanted to make sure everybody knew about the accreditation.
Okay, so just to clarify one thing. So the 31,143 comes out of the 162, 187?
Well, it doesn't have
or
to.
is it? But it doesn't have to. But it's not on top of the 162.
No.
Right.
That's what I just wanted to make sure.
Most of it does come out of the 162. That's the minimum, but and it's a 19% thing. So yeah. But in the last couple of years, the town has given us money. It has included that much money.
Okay.
All right. So so the first budget we gave, it's this one, correct? That one there that you got.
Yep.
Yeah, so the first one was up a little bit, and library wages were up a little bit because we were hoping to increase the substitute's wage from $11 an hour to $12 an hour, which they're fully trained, they do everything the CERC librarian does, and I was hoping to raise their, hourly wage. 11's pretty low.
Isn't that requirement now?
Well, it's
$12
a
is
state
that the minimum
requirement,
wage?
but not for
Oh,
municipalities.
You're right.
Yeah.
Yep, you're right. Got
I
it.
know, yeah, that's that catch there.
Right, so that was, I wrote that in the explanation, the only change was $11 to $12 for that. We also raised the average number of hours of substitutes from 7 hours a week to 11.5. But based on, personal time, sick time, vacation time of benefited employees. And in the level funded, we went back to FY18 and we lowered it back to $11. So these are two more trustees, Convy style.
Brought the whole gang.
Yeah, there's no way we're going to sit there and have it. It's fast.
We need name tags. So they keep me on track.
Well, great support system.
Yeah, they are. They're great. So I think that's the only note on the personnel. I mean, I went into a little more description of what we use the substitutes for, besides sick time. And for instance, if I have to go to a Board of Selectmen meeting, I usually work Tuesday night, I'll get a substitute, things like that.
Well, this is very helpful.
So we did get an HVAC upgrade, which I think is why the utility bill is lower, and the maintenance. So we wanted to use the $1,500 from utilities into expenses, which was not much money in that line. It wasn't much money. So that money goes, I explained here, library supplies, barcodes, book jackets, processing, but also we were hoping to have some money so we could go to workshops and conferences. We haven't done any conferences, Mass Library Association, stuff like that. We do get free workshops through the Mass Library System. We've been going to those, but sometimes things do cost money. And then also a little bit for programming, but most of that programming money will still have to be done through fundraising.
So you think that out of the utilities, that was because of the upgrade and thing? Kind of
Yes, yeah, and maintenance. If you look at our, that month, I think it's twice a month, Joyce sends out the expense report. You'll see that we haven't spent the amount out of those two lines
That's
that
pretty
were
good.
given to us.
That's pretty good.
Yeah,
it is.
It's great. And then the
Trustee just came in.
Oh my goodness. I've never had this many people.
wow, that's a
Serious
lot
support,
of
that's
trouble.
awesome.
Well, it's the first meeting of the budget season.
Right.
And then the book materials went up a little bit because of the 19% thing. So that's what we were asking for. But it's not a big leap from the previous year. And then we gave you a wage itemization of who gets what in another sheet. So, you'll see how much our employees get. See, that's this one.
Okay. Yep. That's
Because that's not broken down in this sheet. Is that too much information?
No, actually, thank you very much for this information.
Yeah, so I explained in the utilities that we do need to replace light bulbs, and we're trying to get an estimate, not on the whole fixture, but just the bulbs, because it's getting a little dark back there. So, we will be using a little bit more from the utilities line along with the regular bills. And then maintenance, there's leaks from the roof, and we've had to have the boiler fixed a little bit, but we're still running under, So. All right, so level funded is, and this shows the way they figure out the formula, but I don't know if anybody's interested in that. The way they figure out how much the town needs to give us is based on 17, 18, FY 17, 18, 19, and then they average it out, multiply by a little bit of an increase, divide by 3. I checked my figures with the Massport Library Commissioners. So should we go to the level funded?
Sure. Sure.
All right, so basically, it's the same except, it's the same as last year, the total figure, and we reduced the substitutes down to $11 an hour.
That was the biggest.
So, and then here, there was a breakdown of the salaries also in the level funded. And then the budget's pretty short, but I didn't put the two requirements in here because you have them in the other one. But basically, we just brought it down to what we got last year. But the thing was, because the books, we do have to spend a little bit more on books. There's a difference of $889 we would have to raise. So the level funding would not cover enough for the books. But the total figure is enough for the amount that the town needs to give us.
Okay.
Because 163,909 does meet the requirement. So I don't know if the town's going to have to do level funding or give us what we asked for. So.
Well, the reason we asked for level funding is because we actually sat in this room 2 weeks ago. Then we started looking at different budgets, and there was some significant increases in some of the departments. Others weren't as much, and we were like, so we started looking at it and going, where do we start? Because we know there's not a lot of money there. So we asked everybody to come back with a level budget or level funded, so that we can at least have some type of idea of what's going to happen if it stays level funded, and we can build up and out from there with what is deemed most important, I guess, or needed the most. And that's really the reason why we wanted to start that level funded budget, or ask for the level funded, so that we could
Yeah, so we did ask across the board from everybody.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
right.
sure, yeah.
So like I said, so we can build up and out and see, otherwise we don't know what we're starting with.
Sure. Yeah, so this is basically, the amount is what we got last year.
Okay,
The wage is exactly the same, but you'll see we just moved a little money from one line to the other.
now
and the other.
the library employees are not contracted, correct?
No. No, we're not unionized, we're not contracted.
Okay.
3 of us are benefited. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see. The ones with stars are benefited in this budget. Yeah. Show you who's benefited.
Yep, yep, I see them now, yep.
And this includes the custodian also.
Okay.
And he's wonderful, by the way.
3.5 hours.
Yes, he does a great job.
That's per week, I'm assuming?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, he also works, where else is it?
Town hall,
yeah.
highway, I
He's the
think.
one that,
Police?
he goes to
Travels
each,
around.
yeah.
Police too, yeah. He's very good.
Yep.
So the total wages is the same as last year. And actually, even though we increased the number of hours a week from the substitutes, that didn't affect the total. It's because somebody retired who made more money and, that kind of thing.
Yep.
So the totals are exactly the same
Okay,
as last year.
okay.
So that 11 to 12 is for the substitutes that are across, right?
Yeah, 11 to 12. We were hoping to
Across
give
the
them
board.
more, $1 an hour more because 11, they do so much. They're totally, we have to train them to use the system. And they've been there a long time, actually.
I'll say, it says here some of them have been there for 6 years.
Yes.
Working at the same rate.
Oh, no, I think they started at 8 or 9, yeah. Yeah, I think it's one of the lowest paid in the whole town, actually. Most people
That's a problem.
make 15, I think, here. I don't know what the transfer station pays, but I think the only people who pay less are the poll workers, maybe, or the same. I'm not sure what they get, but I think that's the only one. Yeah, we're very happy that we have such good substitutes because, for instance, one person was sick today, so we had to get a substitute.
So when a substitute comes in, the person being substituted for still gets paid
Well, if they're benefited.
if they're benefit, okay. Okay, I see.
Yeah, because most of the hours are benefited, but we do have a person we just hired for 6 hours a week because somebody retired. It was a whole big change, and she's not benefited, the 6-hour
Yeah,
week position.
we just signed off on all that. didn't we?
Yeah.
Just a couple.
Yeah, you probably went through, yeah.
Yep.
We had a person who retired after many years here, and so we did a staff reorganization and ended up with this, but within the same money.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, well, we certainly would like to help everybody.
I'm sure, yes, I'm sure you would. So,
Very detailed explanations, very helpful. So
thank you.
we're
Yeah,
going through the
so
process.
I didn't cover everything in there, but most of it.
No, you didn't. Just what we needed.
Okay. Well, if you have any more questions, let me know. I do have figures like of how many people come into the library. I don't know if you are interested in.
Yeah, I'm just curious, because I would,
Yeah.
just for my own knowledge, because I would have never guessed that you transferred 8,600 books.
Yes,
You know?
exactly. Right,
I
so
would've
we used to
guessed that.
keep figures all year, and then we have to report them to the state. So there were 24,000 people who came into the library last year in FY18. So that might be like a person might come 3 days a week, but
Yeah.
24,000 people. We have a lot of programs. So we had 1,492 people attended the youth programs for the year. 1,396 attended the adult programs and 286 the young adult programs. The most astonishing figure to me is we had 77 volunteers. So the library would cost a lot more money if we didn't have so many volunteers.
How many volunteers?
Right.
77. And some of them Hampshire regional students, but a lot of them are not. And they put in 2,200 hours, so that's a lot. So we had a total of 146 adult programs and 83 children's programs. We have 2,665 borrowers from Southampton, but actually it's really more than that, because like one family might use one card, so it's
Oh, right,
hard
okay.
to...
Oh, so that goes by card, that doesn't go by
Yes,
person?
by cards,
Okay,
right.
gotcha.
So, and then 46 people on the average week use the computers, and the meeting room was used 375 times. So we have 33,000 books. I can give you all these figures, but we own that many, and 32,800 circulate books. So it's and I have other figures, but I can.
Busy place.
Yeah, it's a good place.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
She stood up for the team, did well.
You got a fan?
Man, we couldn't say anything else.
We should have paper clips here. An old pile of them. Keep this up in here.
There you go.
Hey, I got
Paper
one.
clips.
See, ask and you shall receive.
Yes.
I got stuff everywhere.
I wish I had $5.
I wish I had money just
Didn't
like
work.
that.
Anyone got a penny? She has all, I even have sticky notes and everything. Like I said, I have a bag. She's prepared. We just didn't plan well for our outfit change. Oh, I'm so
No, I
disappointed
know.
with us. Fire?
Do we have a level funded for them?
No.
I have this.
don't have a
We
funded
didn't
yet.
get, we didn't get it from, oh, okay.
No. Not that I know of.
That helps.
Hopefully they're with them, I guess.
Okay, fire department.
Okay.
Back to the big thing.
John, you want to go next? Sure. Is that, unless somebody else
Come on
wants to
down.
give up?
No, I should have brought it to you.
Are you gonna borrow them?
We can always call,
Support John.
I can call 911.
He needs a support system.
Find that portion here.
Do you happen to have your level funded budget with you? Because we did not get one.
That's with cost of living written in.
Should we ask her?
Yeah.
Ed?
Ed?
Did we get level fund budget for the fire department?
I don't think so. I think it was on vacation.
No, okay.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay.
So I just did that in it. Should have gotten copies
Of
for
all the budgets, though, if I recall.
It's 4,000.
Right.
Yeah, mine's like,
It was
Yeah.
pretty
my
low.
budget's looking pretty good.
We're just thinking everybody across the board, just to be fair.
So all I did is I took out the increases, the $4,000 that I put in for increases. I'm moving some money around from some different places just to support some budget areas that are a shortfall now. And I have some room to move.
Okay.
Did we get paperwork on this?
Ed, would you mind making us a couple of copies?
We got a copy guy now?
Well, he looked bored sitting over there.
would you like? Four.
That'd be great. Thank you.
I apologize for not having that for you.
Oh, no.
Okay.
No.
No problem.
Why? Does my brain think that we already...
Well, we had talked about this
Yes, didn't
in
we
the
have more paperwork?
meeting, but
Okay.
he would, were you with us?
No.
I don't know.
He was, right?
No.
No, I don't think so.
This
That's
was
why-
just 2 weeks
Maybe
ago.
Yeah, it was just a couple weeks ago that
I
we
don't
had talked, because we had looked and we saw the 4,000 and we were like, wow,
Yeah.
That's it?
that's a nice
Yeah.
little number.
Yeah, well, actually, my budget's looking really good. I mean, just,
Yeah.
you know, honestly, when I had projected for the full shift, I had projected with a number that was 8 hours shot, had to fill in my nighttime shift with 8 hours of standby. But as it's worked out, the way I've balanced it with EMTs versus paramedics, I haven't really had to cut into the standby account so much. And I've been able to fund it all from the station. So my historic numbers are looking really good because I keep diligent track of just as I go along.
So just just a round number, what's left in the standby at this point?
Nearly. I probably only, I'm just shooting from the top of my head, I've only used probably about $2,500 from the standby.
Okay.
My problem is, by the end of the year, my shortcomings are in the expense side, and have historically been in the expense side since I've been in the position.
Yeah.
So I fought every year for the structural turnout gear, which I've gotten through capital expense, and I'll probably get again through capital expense. But the other things that have never been accommodated for are things like our self-contained breathing apparatus bottles are good for 15 years. I have 9 that are expiring this year, and they're $1,000 each.
Wow.
So although there'll be some extra money in some of those standby accounts probably at the end of the year, my guess is I'll probably won't be spending, I'll stay within my budget.
Is that in the capital expenses or not yet?
Well, what I've been trying to do is when there's money that, as long as I stay within my budget, and if there's money available, I try and spend it on things like that I know are going to be coming for future. What I've tried to do is get it like with the tanks, I've gotten like 2, 3, 4 a year. Part of the problem was that we bought a whole bunch of tanks when we got the last engine that we'd gotten in. And the problem with that is then they all come to expire at the same time.
Right.
So rather than having, 50 tanks go into expiration at the cost of $50,000, I've pecked away at them through every budget cycle since I've been here 5, 6 years now. Then I'll do the same thing again this year. It's just that this year's, I won't be able to replace all the, I may be able to, I'm going to try and work to replace as many of those 9 as I can, but even if I just get 5 of them with what's left over in my budget, it still evens them out through the years, which is a good thing.
Now, when they expire, you have to get new ones?
Yeah,
or you
either
can
carbon fiber
recertify
I
it?
recertify them every 5 years because that's a requirement for a hydrostatic cylinder.
Okay.
So I send them away, and I can do that through their 2 times, 5 years, 10 years, and then at 15 years they have to be replaced. You can't hydrostatically test them anymore.
Okay.
So
they're
that's
at the end of their
So they're end of
life.
life. Yeah, end of life. So I've caught up pretty well, but I got these 9 that are going to kind of kick me here. But I think there's some flex in my budget this year. I should be able to make a pretty good dent. So I'm not really looking to fund anything there now.
Okay.
Just a question, I know a lot of this was coming up last year. I wasn't even part of this, but I was paying attention though.
Sure, good.
Was when we went to full-time paramedic, 24-hour.
Yeah, 24-hour fire. EMS.
Right.
Yep.
Now, there was projections, I don't know the exact numbers of revenue. Is that exceeding or is it level or where?
No, our revenue's up.
It is up,
Yeah.
so that helps as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's not phenomenally up, and I really tried to sit with finance last year and say, don't expect this to be the big cash cow, because we've been covering most of those hours through standby and through as best we can. Now that we have people in the station, it really just facilitates a quicker response time. And so it does give us a quicker response time. We've caught more calls. Our revenue went from about 180, 190 to our projections this year are about 210. Okay. So that's
significant.
yeah, it's significant. And I've also, I've reallocated some staff functions to work specifically on billing, so that we're dotting I's and crossing T's, so that the billing company can maximize what they
I remember
are billable.
We signed something up for that earlier. Yeah.
So I've really tried to, focus on how I can maximize with what I have.
Right, you really need somebody that knows what they're doing in there to squeeze the insurance company for every
Well, and that's
nickel.
it, yeah. 'Cause in the billing company, I mean, they get information, they can chase some information, but the more information that we can supply them, and a lot of it is just, honestly, a lot of it is personnel, just getting the right signatures in the right places, making sure that you're getting all of the insurance information just on every call. So, and Medicare is really fussy about they're the ones that are most fussy about signatures, which can be difficult, because when somebody goes in and they are not able to sign, then you have to get 2 or 3 other signatures in order for competency. So, there's some challenges to it, but honestly, identifying them and then chasing after, 50
Yeah.
people.
I'm glad to hear it worked out, because
Yeah.
I was really glad to see that
Yeah.
happen. It was
Got a
very
good
important
group.
for the town.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
to have that 24-hour coverage, I'm a firm believer of it.
Yeah, we got an exceptional group. I think that one of the benefits that we see indirectly is that because they're all part-time from other communities, we got a lot of people with a lot of experience that are working for us. Where if we had to hire them, the town couldn't afford to pay what these guys are earning in their other department, but just per diem work that they're doing for us, we can. So, some of my guys, my EMS coordinator's got almost 40 years of experience. I've probably got, I've got probably 8 guys with a good, 20 to 30 years experience. So it's really kind of, I think it works well. I think for long-term projections, at some point, I'm going to try and keep things within budget, but just so you hear it as it's out there. At some point, I'm probably going to have to look at like a full-time staff. But if I go with a full-time staff, it probably wouldn't be a paramedic. It would be a basic, just so I can run a paramedic basic truck, and that would keep our costs down. Because if I go with a paramedic on a full-time basis, I don't think we could afford to pay him, because I can't be competitive with all the other towns in the area. Where if I can
It's
get a
benefited and everything else.
And so if I go with full-time, rather than trying to get like an entry-level basic with entry-level paramedic that doesn't have a lot of experience, I'd rather get an experienced basic for a lot less money. And then, if they're, oftentimes, that's honestly, they'll end up doing a lot of administrative work too. And so as I forecast into the future, that would probably be the direction I go with full-time as we get there. So, but, if everything works well, we can keep it close to the budget that we're working with now, given cost of living increases. But it's moving pretty well.
All right, so back to the level funded, so I see
So I'm trying to shift some money around, and ideally, I like to put it in where I spend it. Let's see. So my expense account, that's a hard one, because I pay for all my building expense. I don't have a maintenance guy that comes in. My guys can clean.
Sure.
But
Makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but I have like a wireless bill that is as part of the building expense, and it really shouldn't be there. It's about a $1,600 a year bill, and I reduced the building expense down just $1,000.
what's wireless?
Wireless services like my cell phone, some of the cell
okay,
phone
I
service
see.
for the computer, for the medical reports
Okay.
that go out.
Okay, I wasn't sure what that.
Yeah, I'm
That's
sorry.
why you said it wasn't
No,
part of the
please
building.
ask questions,
Building
'cause
expense.
I'm
Okay.
more than happy to elaborate. I got lots of stuff that I can
Okay.
tell you for any questions. So I reduced that by 1,000, and then I increased into the fire department expense by 4,000, increased my structural firefighter 9,000, and reduced the EMT standby, which is the account that's about 2,400 now. Reduce it, it's 18,000, probably 18 and change. Reduce it by 12,000, which will pay for all of the increases that I just talked about, and still leave 6,200 in there for standby, so I can use that as backup as I need to.
And that's above the 2,500 you says in there that you've used already?
Well, this is for the new budget year.
Oh, right. Got it.
Yep. So,
Makes
yeah,
sense.
right now, I'm at 2,500. So honestly, there is the potential, it leaves some leeway there.
Some safety
Just because,
net,
because one of the things that's really hard to judge, wages is difficult, because if we fight a structure, EMS is a little bit easier, because it's pretty much 2 folks that will respond on a call.
And it's all billable.
Yeah, and it's all billable. Yeah, that works good. And occasionally we use 3 for if it's a severe call, we need to have an extra paramedic on board. Sometimes you have to get it from outside, and that costs about $275 per run. And sometimes we get it from in-house if we've got somebody in-house, because like for high acuity calls, you need to have they're getting into one extra person on the truck. So you end up with a double paramedic. But otherwise, we run paramedic basic.
On the first one that was submitted, we're showing an admin aid for $20,000.
Yeah, I was told double budget, so, I've never had an admin aid.
Okay, I didn't think so. That's why I was like, okay.
Yeah, so everything we do
Okay.
is just,
So this was,
it would be nice to have an admin aid.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's something that would, if there's room in a budget, I would certainly advocate for that position.
You gotta find a firefighter with that.
Yeah, and I piecemeal a bunch of it out
I'm just kidding,
as
I'm just
best I
kidding.
can, but it's really hard because everything is
Yeah.
due, like they want things on Monday or work weekends, on that Sunday, but my guys are working right up through on Sunday, and you don't know what the call's gonna be.
Right.
That day on Sunday, you could be, all of a sudden blow your budget out of the water. So there's some challenges, and it'd just be extremely helpful to have an aid. So everything
Okay.
kind of balances out, and it leaves, it kind of reallocates a little bit, that $1,000. It's not a ton of money, but it just reallocates it into the fire department expense, along with some of the money that came from the standby.
Okay.
It's a better distribution, it funds accounts that really need to be funded, and if it's zero budget, it stays zero budget, which is kind of nice.
Okay, so if it was level funded, you'd be okay.
Yeah, I'd be okay.
Okay, because what we're trying to do is, like I said before, we're trying to pick and choose, and if you're gonna be okay, maybe, but I know like the PD has got some stuff that has to be done, and the highway has some stuff they gotta do, and I'm like, maybe this year is your year to give up something, but for somebody else, and next year have to be them for you,
Yeah,
something
yeah.
like that.
The big challenge is, if we don't get a building soon, I see that as being some big challenges.
I agree.
Only because there's a lot of OSHA requirement of, we're supposed to have 2 exits. I only have 1 exit. You can't
Right.
count garage doors.
Yeah.
It's difficult because, I guess potentially I should be submitting a budget that really brings the building up to OSHA requirement. But the kind of money for that is not readily available from the town. And so that's a difficult one to go through. I think it's my duty to tell you that those things should be done at the station, some upgrades to some of the exhaust extraction, gear is supposed to be.
Maybe what you should
in some
do,
room.
I'm not saying that I'm in favor of putting any money into the fire department, into the firehouse, because I'd like to see something new.
Yeah.
But maybe it's something that you can put together as a capital expense so that it's out there and say, it's going to
Yeah,
cost this.
I did a rough
What do
one
you wanna do?
earlier. Ed had requested, and I'd done a rough,
Okay,
estimate.
so you've done it.
And it's rough. I didn't get. I think some of the estimates for like exhaust extraction are from. I'd done a shoot from the hip number. Some of those numbers may be way off. I don't know how much of my time it's worth to really chase those to get factual numbers.
Right.
If it's really not something that we're going to do. I don't mind shooting from the hip and
Right,
let's get a general
right.
idea of where we want to go here. I think just from shooting from the hip, it shows that we need to do some work, and we're not doing it. So you have those numbers. It's my duty to say that we should be doing that work. Hopefully something moves forward with the building, and it's not
Right.
as
And
pressing.
exhaust is a big deal. It's not as bad as it used to be. I
Well,
remember
the kids
30
are-
years ago, there was an old tanker in there in the first bay,
Yeah.
and whenever they fired that thing up, it looked like the building was on fire, and you couldn't walk through without,
Engine one. Engine one is down at our other station.
bad.
We're not putting any money into it. We're not mothballing it, but it's a second line piece.
Yeah.
When it was front line piece in the station, it would do the same thing. Yes,
Yeah.
my office would get filled with smoke,
Yeah.
which is, that's just not ideal.
You guys,
And you know, all the statistics that they're coming out with are cancer rates for
Right.
firefighters.
right, you guys already have enough hazards to worry about, never mind
Yeah.
exhausting your own building.
Yeah, so if we needed, you know, I mean, I can certainly, there's tons of documentation for the kind of work that needs to happen. So OSHA, you know, although it's restrictive and new to Massachusetts and to Southampton, it's stuff that, you know, makes common sense in a lot of points and makes safer environments. So I certainly am an
Have they come by at
advocate.
all?
They haven't. There's some volunteer stuff that you can do.
Yep.
It's kind of a catch-22. If we do the volunteer stuff, they're not saying that you have to make the repairs, but now you know about the repairs that you have to make.
Right.
If you know about the repairs that you have to make, then there's the argument for negligence, for not
Right.
making them.
Right.
And so I'm doing my diligence to make myself aware of as much of that as I possibly can. I don't think it's ideal to throw us into the limelight right now. I like the idea that we're pursuing actively a new building. I think that's, you know, it's been on the selectmen's agenda. I think it's a solid argument as to why some of these major costs are being deferred a little bit. You know, if things fell through,
Then you gotta do something.
then you have to do something. And you couldn't avoid it because you've got no alternative.
Right. All right. Well, I'm glad to hear everything's going well.
Yeah, yeah.
It's nice to,
Yeah,
good news.
yeah, it is. And, you know, and it's the first year of all the full-time staff, so I'd actually done some projections out, just, you know, worst-case scenario, you know, because my numbers vary every month. And so I'd done some like wage. In a worst-case scenario, you know, my wages potentially, if it was a horrendous year, could be a little bit not sufficient. But on my average cost, they are just about perfect. So
Okay.
I'm working with an average for the budget. So and I guess I mentioned that only because if we did end up with a horrendous year, I wouldn't, you know, you'd have to understand that my budget is not set. It's however emergencies come forward.
Right. On both sides.
Yeah.
You can
Well,
spend it easy, or you can get a lot in.
Yeah, yeah. Fire ones is really the unpredictable side. Just because an ambulance run, you go out with 2 people generally. On a fire call, you could have 20 people. So 20 people just burns through a budget quickly.
Yeah.
EMS is a little bit easier to keep costs under control. Any questions for anything?
I don't think so. I think that was good, very informative.
Good.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Not too bad.
We did get
Excuse me, Janet King from Glendale Road.
Okay.
Quick questions and maybe a few questions, maybe I missed it. Did I miss the public time?
No, you did not.
Okay. Was there a motion to move the PCFs later into the agenda and the other things up that I missed as well?
We moved the PC, right, we skipped the PCS for right now. We're going to do them, only because we have people here waiting, and if we can get them out, then that's the reason. So you're here for a PCF, I assume?
PCF as well as a question about, you know, for public time is that, are you going to be meeting with the Board of Assessors and the Council on Aging as well?
Do we have them scheduled?
Board of Assessors
And
is,
see them on a
We
schedule?
haven't scheduled yet. We were just starting to pick through the list.
right, we were going to be doing, the assessors was part of the finance
Yeah, they're
team
part of the- yes.
for next week's meeting.
Martha was part of it, yeah.
Correct. So they were going to be on the schedule for the 8th?
Yeah.
For the 8th.
So the board needs to know that, so I'll,
Well,
Yep.
it was gonna be the finance team with the treasurer, the assessor, everybody.
does that
Right.
mean we're reviewing the budget? Or
Yes.
it's just part of the finance team is going to be here? Just
No, the idea was to kill two birds with one stone.
Right.
As long as
It's
they're all
always a
here.
good idea.
Right, exactly, because what we're trying to do is present something to the select board before they need to vote on the 16th, is that correct? Or they had to approve it by the 16th to get it on the warrant for the
Okay, I
town
mean, I
meeting?
saw there was a meeting tomorrow, but there's no department scheduled, so I didn't,
Tomorrow. No, next week there's 2 meetings.
there's one scheduled.
Meeting for who?
Oh, the 9th.
Yeah, that's
The 8th and the
that's
9th, we have 2
Okay.
meetings,
Yeah.
Monday,
A
Tuesday.
week ahead.
That's okay.
Right, we picked the 8th and 9th in case
We
it
need 'em.
overflowed into the
Okay.
9th. Just, we wanted to make sure we
So
got it
the
done.
ones on for next week then are, I can look at the budget. but
And if-
you
I haven't-
and we
meeting with the
can,
council on aging or,
We can, if they want
Yeah.
to, join us, that's absolutely fine.
yeah, if you want
We can include them,
to, okay.
we can put them on, are we gonna have?
Not to lengthen your
Forums.
process.
That's the catch, we gotta sit there and discuss about Monday in the quorum.
You're available Monday?
Yes.
Sharon?
I'm just not 100% as of today.
I won't know until
Okay.
Friday and Saturday where my flight stands.
Okay. We will keep it on schedule until we find out, even if it's just 3 minutes, we can certainly work it out.
Yeah, so I think on the 8th, there wasn't anything listed either, so that was.
No, I haven't
not-
filled in the details.
it's not
I put
posted
the
yet.
dates on the calendar to mark it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we try and wait a little longer just to, we're only modifying it only
Once.
3 times instead of 6.
Yeah. Why, did you get the alerts already? Ed must have fun when he gets them all.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Uh-oh, Gloria's on the site again. Bam, another change, another change. He's-
Did you have another question?
No, those were the two about the, whether
COA.
those two would be, and if the PCS just got moved to the back.
Yeah.
yep.
Board of Health.
All right. Is there representatives from the Board of Health here? No?
I don't think their meeting is scheduled till 6, so
Oh,
at least on the agenda.
Right, yeah, I saw they had a 6 o'clock.
so
And
then,
also said that we were joining them, but
huh? Or maybe that's meaning they're coming up here to us.
maybe,
Okay.
yeah. All right. Aaron?
Spirit from the school.
Yep.
We got those, did we?
Susan?
You sent those to me, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, did you guys get, do you have a budget from us or no?
I had scanned both
You
of
had-
these.
Oh, you got pink ones.
Well, yeah, you had the one that was the pink one that, the same pink one that you had.
Right.
Which one's pink one?
The pink one is the language, that's the budget that we
Okay.
They approved.
approved.
Oh,
Right.
straight pink on mine.
For the level funded with the COLA, I have a number, but, so I have that number for you to put in, and I can speak to what it would mean, because it would be cuts, but we can't give a budget because it specifically would show cuts that we can't, it has to do with who
You don't
would be
expose.
affected, and we can't expose that until we know it's for sure, because then there's all these other rules that we get in trouble for, so.
Right.
I can tell, I have an idea, or I can speak to what will happen to the school, but I can't give like extreme specifics. So I have the number. I don't know if you want me to start off with the first what do you want me to start with first? So,
Let's start with what you voted on.
okay.
Can I have one of those?
Yeah.
I'm gonna take a pink one too, so we all have the same
Thank you.
color out.
Pink, lots of pink, I stole all their pinks. So pink is the budget that we, as a school committee, approved to put forward. And this was sort of at the same time, the day of our school committee was when we heard about the level funded plus so we didn't know about that. So we approved this budget. And the big thing I think we've talked about through this whole year was the issue with the special ed and the special ed costs and what's happened to the school regarding special ed. So this budget is going to address the special ed problems that we have. Right now, in mid-year, we had 2 extra out-of-districts go out, so we have a total of 3 out-of-districts out currently, and we have 3 on the horizon for next year. And that at about
3 more?
3 more, so
3 more.
a total of 6 out-of-district placements that are on the 3 that are out. Once they're out, you never can get them back in. 3 that are looking to go out that we're hoping this language-based program will bridge. We can possibly stop that from happening. We can't guarantee, but we're really hoping that putting this program in will stop it and will stop the future, because the problem that we're having is that a lot of the problems are language-based, which happened years ago when we had to cut our math and English interventionalists that we had. So we had to cut those off years ago, and now we're starting to see a progression of kids not being up to speed and us not being able to catch them quick enough. So really what this is, if you go through what we have to do for a language-based program to get it, it would be a program we would start at Norris that would address the kids that we have currently available that we know would qualify. Right now we have enough kids in our school that would qualify, and we hope that once it gets some traction that we would be able to look in district to bring in some revenue for it. It would be something that would be a couple of years down the road, because it has to be a program that's been vetted and that has substance behind it, but like say Williamsburg or
anybody
West,
jumps on.
anybody, but it would be significantly cheaper than sending, White Oak can be upwards of $42,000 a kid, in addition to transportation, so it comes to about $60,000 a kid to send a kid to White Oak.
So just a quick question on that.
Yeah.
See, I was at
Yeah, you were
meeting
there when we
over
were
that,
talking about,
So I'm familiar with what you're saying already, but these guys are not.
Right,
But-
which is-
So I guess what I'm asking is, you said there was 3 more possibles coming up, so are they budgeted
There's one
already?
budget in there. There's one budgeted in there. So we budgeted one because we're worried that we wouldn't be able to stop them all from going. There's one budgeted in there, but the other 2 are, we believe that we think this program would stop them from going. So we think that, we can't say for 100%, but we're going to make that gamble that we think that we could stop 2 of them from going. So there is one extra, so there's a total of 4 out of districts in this budget.
Okay. So it could go to 100, another 120 if you don't stop that. You could go up to
Correct. Well, so
120.
what you're gonna, so when I talk to you about the level funded plus the COLA, you're gonna see that we have to pick up, but there's big increases. I also want to be transparent with how the town is affected. So I'm just speaking in general here about what we pay on the school side, but the town pays on the busing side too. So there's 2 components to it. So the town is already being hit with busing increases for this year and next year for the ones that already went out, and they'll then have to have that much more with the other kids that would go out. So there's a lot of components that kind of also the net school spending number that we have to stay at in order not to get fined. So that's another kind of thing in there that has to be kind of monkeyed around with. But on this one in particular, what we were doing is a language-based program that we would have one special ed teacher that we have to hire specifically for that classroom. We'd have to hire aide for that classroom. And then there would be some curriculum that we would need, a one-time curriculum purchase, increase in professional development, because all the teachers have to have a little bit of professional development in language-based program teaching, and then also some of the sped contract services would go up. So it's basically, the program itself costs $120,000. That's what that program costs the school. That's the equivalent to 2 out-of-district placements. So
And they have a classroom.
we'd have it, yeah. So they would have a classroom. They would also then be integrated into different, it's going to be a classroom, but we can't just have them by themselves because that's segregation. So they have their classroom that they'd be learning their subjects in, but then they'd be integrated into some other stuff. So it would be kind of going back and forth with the kids. But the person who would be teaching would be specifically a language-based teacher, like she or he would have those those qualifications. So it couldn't just be a regular teacher.
Okay.
So that's really everything. Everything else in the budget is just steps that are required by our contract. Everything else is we don't have any other increases. In fact, we're hoping, we have a math curriculum change that's coming in. We're hoping to be able to purchase that over 2 years. We're hoping that we might be getting some money back from Smith Folk, because what happens if we put too much money aside for Smith Folk and then not that many kids come because of the net school spending number, they have to send it back to Norris, but we can't budget with that because we don't know. But we're hoping that's going to pay for the curriculum for math. So we're not including that in here. We're going to do it with hopefully money that we get from some Smith Folk money. So if you look to you can look to page, oh, my pages are not numbered. I don't know what the number is. I think it might be the fourth.
Page 5.
2,
They are numbered.
3, 4, 5. Oh, mine aren't numbered though.
Oh, okay.
Page 5, you'll see so the total increase is $234,000 that's the total increase. And then so this is with the language-based program, this is what we have to shoulder as a town. And then if you look down one more line, you see what the transportation increase is going to be. It's about a $100,000 increase, and that's with only that's with only 4 of the special ed students going, not 6. So it would be even higher to the town if 2 other kids end up going. So that's the existing 3 with an additional 1 that we put in there. So I wanted to be as transparent to show you guys kind of what because a lot of factors happen with special ed. It's unfortunate, but it's kind of what we just have to deal with. And then you also see the $68,000 increases the out of district. You see that? That's where that is. So.
Now the busing contracts haven't been.
It has.
Oh,
So
they
the
have been
busing
finalized?
contract, so that final number of 235 is the final number that
Oh,
they've
it
been
is.
negotiated. So yeah, that's
Okay.
the final number.
Okay. for
So
some
that is
reason-
our number.
It is, okay.
Yeah. So it's a $32,000 increase for the new busing contract.
And the amount of school choice kids, actually, let me
Right.
back up, the school population, is that up or down for town? Where else does that stand? Just,
In far as what we have right now, we have like 500 kids, 501 kids.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look 7 years ago, it's down. I mean, population is decreasing.
Okay.
We fill all the choice. So what we try to do is every year, the number of choice leaving, we try to make sure we fill that many coming in so that we're always keeping it.
Stays level.
So it stays level. The problem is what happens if we don't, so if we can't do this if we're not able to do this language-based program and we have to go to the one where we have to do some cuts, that probably will affect our school choice because we're going to have to cut staff. We can't have as many spots, and so we can't take school choice. Right now, we're spending what we take in. So everything we take in, we're putting into this budget. So we spend everything we take in. We're not spending more, which is what they had done in the past and kind of got us into the trouble, but
right.
we're not doing that anymore.
That's good.
But
That's
we do
good.
spend whatever we take in.
It's a gamble.
It is a gamble. So I guess what I can say about if that number, so the number that for the level funded with the COLA, the number is 4 million. You might want to write this down. I don't have that budget because we didn't
Okay.
prepare that budget. So it's 4,529,915, which is a $74,000 increase. That's what that comes to. So that's level funded with the COLA.
I give you credit.
And
So-
now, may I ask,
Yeah, so-
maybe you're going there anyway,
yeah.
what happens at that?
Right. So that we have to cut about $100,000 from our current budget to get for that because with this special ed. So we have to put back in the 3 special ed out of districts So we will have to cut $100,000 of our budget, which will be equivalent, I mean, we're
What did it-
2.5 positions, like it's gonna be something along that lines of 2.5 positions. The classrooms are gonna increase, so 25 kids in a classroom. Another thing that I just want to put out there is because it happened last time, and I think as a finance committee, you should just be aware, the unemployment costs that happened to the town when this happened last time, when they cut down some of the people, it ended up being far more expensive to the town to pay the unemployment cost than to actually pay. So I'm just putting things up. We learned something last time, so I just want to, you guys as the finance committee, just to be aware of like all the different players that'll happen.
You said 2.5 positions and what was coming after that? I've forgotten.
25 kids per classroom.
25
Okay.
kids per classroom, yeah. So the classroom sizes are going up. And, long-term, and you guys know this stuff, I'm just kind of reiterating, long-term what this does to us is for school choice and kids going out of district instead in charter. That could be, that kind of stuff is we'll see that happening. I also don't know, something with that number too, Judy, you would want to ask Vicki about would be the net school spending number. So what is the number that you guys have to be at? Because we got fined a couple of years ago because we were not in compliance.
It's going to be similar to what they were just going through with the library, where they have to have that certain number.
Right. I mean, it's going to be extremely detrimental to the school. And I know you guys understand that, but I just want to reiterate that what will happen to us as a school.
So level funded with a 75,000
It's just
increase is because of down revenue? Oh, the COLA.
the COLA.
Okay,
I mean,
gotcha.
that's what you're adding for a COLA.
Yep.
That's our staff.
Yep,
I mean,
gotcha.
that's what that is.
Gotcha, yep.
So that's what it is. But because you add to the staff, but then we have the special ed cost increasing, we have to make a bunch of cuts to make up for that. So. I mean, I will say that I do think the language-based program could be phenomenal for the school and really stopping what we see as a problem that I think is going to continue.
Sounds like it.
Going forward. I think a couple of years ago, we tried to do a math interventionist and an English interventionist. We saw this coming, but unfortunately the town wasn't in a spot to fund it, and we were not granted that. So I think that we kind of saw this kind of happening, and now it's kind of come to fruition. And unfortunately, it means to the town some really expensive, to spend $60,000 to send a kid out of district is really hurtful for the town.
That's huge.
And that money could be spent so much better if we could keep them. And most of the parents would rather their kids stay in Norris, right? Would rather their kids be with their peers.
Sitting in that meeting, it just blew my mind. I was like, really?
Yeah, it's amazing. It is amazing.
I never knew that.
It is.
Is that expensive?
Yeah, it is. And there's really those are private schools, so they're run for profit. There's no, it's the way it is. So it's just a different ballgame than being in a public school where, we're on shoestrings. So.
Yeah.
What's the cost for educating a student in our school system now? What do we average per student if we keep them in the house at Norris?
17 something?
Yeah, it's around 17,000.
So
It's a little bit
each
higher.
kid we send out, we're losing 3.5 kids worth of money. If we spend
Well, we have to
60,000.
spend, we're spending 3 times that
Yeah.
to send a kid out.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're spending 3 times what it would cost, yeah. It's pretty expensive. But I think it,
Do we have, I didn't see it here actually. Do we have any going to charter schools? at
we
all?
do. We have a couple.
Did that go down at all? Numbers from last year to this year for charter?
I don't know if they went down or up for that, to be honest with
I don't know if there was any savings there or not.
you. No, and we have a couple here and there that go out of district for charter.
I assume the trend for charter would be more towards the Hampshire Regional.
It is, yeah.
It is. It's more towards the Hampshire Regional. It doesn't have as
I
much.
never
We
had
get a
this-
lot. We get a lot of movement in from East Hampton, although that could change
Yeah.
when they do other new schools.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
I mean, that's going to be different. So
What year is that going on? And building starting?
I don't know when the building's starting, but it, in the next 3 years, I would imagine it to
Yeah.
change. Where people aren't coming in from East Hampton anymore.
Same thing as the high school. They lost all the kids that
Right.
came from.
So,
Right, so charter looks like it's 129,450. Page 4. And we're lucky they're not charging them as much as they can.
Yeah.
Because they can go up to what, 22,000, I think?
I
think
think
a
so.
lot more, yeah.
So is that what we can get in per student too?
No, that's chartered.
No, that's charter.
Oh, charter, sorry.
Choice is
Yeah.
5,000 in or out.
5,000, yeah.
Yeah,
You even have to go.
but charter is,
And it costs 17 to
That's what I mean. My brain is like, all right, a negative.
Yeah, that's what they've been, I mean, I wrote a big, huge, I know a bunch of people, Lindsay Sabadoza put together a whole book that she brought, and I wrote a whole thing about all of this stuff going on to put in there, just of examples of
Yeah.
the disparity that's happening.
Oh, yeah.
So I hope something can happen at the state level, that's all we can hope.
They have.
Is that some more money
something.
comes this way.
Yeah.
yeah.
You were supposed to have met, right? A few weeks ago for the rural schools?
Yeah, they met last week.
Yeah, last week. Yeah. So, I don't know if there's, I don't know if there's anything else you have questions
Right,
about.
so your
It's
white,
pretty-
your white copy is level serviced.
No, we didn't have a level, so we couldn't.
Right,
so-
I understand.
Yeah, oh, but that was last year's, but that's our budget from last year.
Right, this was
Yeah.
the level service from last year. This was the other copy that I had for it.
Right, that was our last year budget, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
But that's and the number, so the number that 4,529,000, that one I gave you, that's,
That would be the
right.
level funded.
Yeah,
level
because really
funded.
what it did is give you the COLA, is really what it did. Yeah,
Yep.
so, yeah.
74,000.
Yeah, so that's pretty much what it comes to.
We're coming up in a few minutes, we're just waiting for that.
Okay.
Okay.
He's always late, isn't he? Somebody else have any questions?
I don't,
No, no, it's not.
Not easy.
No, at least now understand more about the programming.
yes.
Understand that. Thank you. Rip our brain on that one.
Well, why don't we get this PC?
Yeah, let's do this, yes, let's get those done.
Just saying, let's do those, yeah.
Yep. Okay. First PCF. Actually, we can actually put these together. This is the assistant town clerk. There's the emergency and the part-time assistant town. Can't speak. Assistant town clerk. I almost said clown. I don't know how that.
April Fool's Day.
Yeah, I guess. This is for a new hire and replaces Lucy Dalton, who's moved up to the town clerk's position. So this is filling a vacant spot. It's for $15.98 for 18 hours a week. Any questions?
No, Lucy needs help.
Yes. Is there a motion to accept the town clerk, assistant town clerk for the part-time and the emergency PCF?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous?
Meeting, so the meeting is now after the annual function.
last one, this is a administrative assistant to the assessor. This is for part-time, it's PCF for Jane Garvey. It's a new hire. Is she replacing anybody? She's not.
May I speak?
Yes, you may.
Just to clarify?
Sure.
See, I did come for a reason. Martha was in that position, and then when Mike had to go on medical leave, Martha moved up and we never backfilled Martha's position, and we have it budgeted, and the office is very hectic, so we definitely need to backfill that. I know it says new hire, but it was like 2 years ago, so she's been trying to function without anybody, because we were a new board. We just wanted to make sure we weren't putting somebody in there just to have a body in there without understanding what the needs were.
Okay, and so
So we had 10,000 budgeted this year to do that.
right, it's you got 93, 96 here. So that is in the 2019 budget?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, that explains a lot then. Any questions?
I don't have any questions.
That was helpful because I wouldn't have known that, so. Is there a motion to accept Jane Garvey's PCF?
So moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Has she started yet?
She starts Monday,
Monday, good.
as long as the select board signs off tomorrow. And it's official. We're hoping to have her start Monday. Today.
Okay. Are there any liaison reports?
No, because the high school's meeting tonight, so, yeah.
CPC's meeting tomorrow night. Wednesday.
The PPB met the other night, but I wasn't there, but I saw in the minutes that they're talking about putting on a special town meeting, dissolving the PPB.
Still talking about that? Okay.
Yep. Just restructuring based on a study. I can sit there and forward you the information.
All right. Any new business we need to deal with?
None that I know of.
All right, we pretty much talked about scheduling the next meeting, which was going to be the 4, 8, and 9.
Was that for 5:30?
5:30, and I gotta check, one night it's upstairs, one night it's downstairs, because I tried to
Right.
figure out where I can make us, I wanted to be downstairs on both of them, but Conservation Commission, I think, or someone else's meeting.
Right.
Some people consider it.
Right, you already have them both slotted though.
Yes.
Right, we just don't have the agenda. So nobody else can take them. Right, I think it was downstairs on that Monday. Got anything, Ed? Any new news?
Monday's downstairs.
All right. So Monday's down. Okay.
So, let me get this straight, 'cause I got paper going everywhere now. Monday, Board of Assessors, Council on Aging,
Right, or the finance team, or...
Finance team.
And it's downstairs, you said?
Yes, and then the following night is
Right.
upstairs.
Right.
'Cause I couldn't get the second night downstairs. 5:30 for both
If we
nights.
can get it all done that night, then great, but...
Okay.
Are there any budgets we're waiting for to come in still? We're good with everything?
Oh, yeah, could come to us.
And is there anything that you know that we're waiting on
For
as
budgets?
far as budgets go? I didn't see anything, but,
Back for you.
Nothing major. There's a couple of small pieces, like the selectmen's budget, will probably just level funded,
yeah,
a few others, but everything else is in, is what I saw today.
right, our budget's gonna,
I think you still got, yours is, no, yours is in there. Yeah, but
Yes.
There's one piece of it, the reserve, I guess.
yep,
That,
right.
well, I'd like to see it go up, but I'm assuming that's.
I'm not gonna be greedy.
Let's not start fighting that one.
I agree, it would be a lot easier, it's easier getting through the year if that is a larger amount.
Yeah, true. That is true.
I thought that you print those for us next time. That's nice. Compare mine to yours.
I can do that.
I'll do the minutes, everything else you do.
If we have new ones, because we should have new ones, I would assume, unless if there's any updates, I guess we can ask Vicki if there's any updates. I can just make copies of this one as well.
I can print large, I just don't have color, and then my color, I don't know why the printer's printing funky. I was laughing when I saw orange come out as pink. I'm like, seriously? That means yellow must not be working.
Do we have a board at home?
Yes.
Probably in the
Yes.
original.
That's what I'm looking for and I don't see it, unless I didn't go far enough back.
Yeah, it's an increase of 26.
Don't have it.
Need index.
Maybe it's on the big line sheet that we're looking at and not the special one.
No, there's one. Oh yeah, right here, sheet, 1, 2, 3, 4 pages down on the top.
Do you have one that we don't have? Because I don't have them.
It's dated 3/27.
Oh, I don't have three,
2019.
I don't have that.
327.
Was that what they sent in print? I printed the big one, I didn't know there was.
This, all right, oh no, underneath this, there's all a bunch of tabs. And it has all of these in the tabs below
Okay.
this. And you just highlight them all and print and it spits them all out. So I can even...
Let's see how it works out.
Next week is 5:30, did you say?
Yes, downstairs.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah, first floor.
We really need a printer up here. Are these Wi-Fi printers? Can we print to one of these printers, the Konica?
No.
Oh, okay, because
I don't know, where's the Conica?
Well, it's not the police
The
station.
police station?
oh, okay, because it's pulling up 5 printers
Yeah.
available here.
I don't think any of them
Do
are
you have
wireless.
the driver? Yeah.
Well, it's pulling up as,
Oh, yeah.
okay.
See, with the way the Apple is, this one's different.
Yeah, I can see that on my phone, it's just, I have to turn it on the side.
Right, see, this is the colored one. And in Excel, it's along the bottom, all the tabs, and what I have is, it's along the top. And so if you hit the tabs, now it comes up.
Yeah. I never
So-
printed every single one, I just saw the big colored page and,
You can highlight one, skip to the other, and hit it, and say print, and they all come out.
let's use page 3. Page 3.
Is it on that one?
Yeah, it is, it's not broken down like these, where they're the spreadsheets.
If you
It's
want to borrow this one, you can, and I'll just read it here.
Okay, if you don't mind. Well, we'll see if they have their level funded with them anyway. Is this one I'm assuming is
Oh, yeah, this is not level funded, yeah.
No, this
Yeah.
one's not. And but what they're going to be looking at is the health director wages. Because that was,
Well, I figured that was the only thing that they were looking for more money for. Yeah.
right, there's
A
some
little
other
bit, but-
things, Sharps program, and other little expenses. But that's the biggest one is for the health director increase, so for the level wages or whatever whatever that was called.
Are they gonna come up soon?
Pause this thing and go to a break. Take a break till they show up.
Yeah, but the catch is we have to be out of here for
Motion
7.
that?
Yeah, we have to be out of here by 7.
So we might want to have them come up, whoever's here. They're waiting for Ben, but Shelley's here. Someone just come up and,
All right, we're going to suspend this meeting for, we'll say 5 minutes and we'll come back.
Okay.
We'll talk to
Okay.
them. Okay, we are back at the April 1st, 2019 Finance Committee meeting, continuing on with the Board of Health.
All right, so let's go right to the request for the FY20. The big change you'll see on there is with the health director. That is to comply with the MGL 149, 105A for the Pay Equity Act with the 2% COLA. That's obviously the big one. Then you go down to the health agent, the 233, that's at 2%. Expenses, we haven't increased in expenses in how long, Shelley?
I would say probably about 3-4 years.
So we've been operating the department with $3,000 for the last.
No, on the Sharps. Oh, okay, you're on expenses, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I have it ahead, so, okay.
And with the Sharps program, that
That just
only.
funded more of that, correct?
Right, that was
for this
voted on
year.
the
Yeah.
town meeting.
And
Right.
was that, so what was just voted on at the town meeting, was that to bring it up to 49, or we're throwing another 19 on top of the 49? Is that what we're looking for? I didn't see it, I don't remember
I
what it was.
believe the Sharps was not 49, wasn't it 30? Was it 35 last year?
No,
It was 49?
No, it was not.
Yeah, so the 49 reflects the 19.
Right.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
correct, yeah.
It was
Okay.
3.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the animal inspector's salary, in 2004 it was 5520, and it's gone down to 35, or it's been $3,000 for years, so we're looking to just do an extra $500. She's doing a lot of traveling.
We have a lot of animals.
There's over 200 horses in town, and she has to inspect all the farms. She inspects everyone's.
That's a lot of
She has to
horses.
keep track of all the chicken coops, all the horses, all the livestock. So she's doing a lot of traveling, and obviously it's getting more expensive to do anything these days. So
Is that you?
No,
No, you're doing some animal stuff though, right?
no, I'm not.
Oh, not, okay.
Nicole Fletcher's our animal inspector.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's our health agent.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, she just put.
Speaking of animals,
She did that. All right.
Animal inspector.
Oh, you look at the horse with the
I turned it down. I mean, just some things to, so last year, our FY19, we came within $1,300 of our target for $45,000 for revenue coming in. Pulling the list where's the back page? So, I mean, just numbers. So we have 3 staff positions. Nicole is 2 of those positions, which would be the animal inspector and the health agent. It's great having one person do this. Like, theoretically, you could have a different animal inspector, but it makes everything quite easy and quite nice when they do that. So, I mean, but we're covered. We covered 57% of our revenue, of our budget with revenue bringing in, which is, so we're looking for, that's $34,000 from the general fund. And so we're here asking for that.
so you're bringing in,
We brought in $45,000. And that's, I mean, in 2014, I think it was $25,000. And we're looking at a couple new ways to bring in
More revenue.
For the town. For FY20, there's going to be some new stuff coming out that'll bring in even more money for the town.
right, I remember the need for this at the town meeting. So this also has the 2% in it as well.
Right. For the health director, yeah.
Yep. Yep. Okay. Now, is there anything, I guess, I saw that, is there anything that you guys do with the landfill? Because I was looking at the landfill stuff too, and is there anything that can cross over there? Or I don't know enough about it to.
As far as
revenue,
taking revenue from landfill to.
Right.
No, I mean, that's never been.
I don't know enough about it, so.
Yeah, no, that's never been
It's an
done.
enterprise fund,
Yeah.
so everything stays within that fund.
Okay.
The Board of Health has oversight over it, certainly, and, works with Randall in terms of his budget and so forth, but the money doesn't,
Yeah, no, it doesn't come to
flow
us.
both ways.
Okay.
Yeah,
That money sustains the landfill.
yeah.
Okay. All right. This is one of those. We have 3 new needs this year. This is one of them.
Right.
This is probably one of the cheapest ones too. But, okay. Do you have any questions that? Because we know what it's
Yeah,
all
we know
about
what
with
it
the
is.
increase. We went over
Yeah.
it a few months ago.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
so-
it's straightforward.
And then
Right.
the documentation showing where the expenses are. This is what we need.
Right.
Just see what your budget's all about.
Now you're talking about maybe some added revenue. What kind of revenue?
I mean, surrounded, so we permit like trash haulers right now, so every truck has a permit from us. There's different revenue streams as far as such as like porta potties. I don't want to start saying stuff and have everyone just
Right.
cause anarchy, but I mean, there's different ways to
Just in
generate with
general.
with
Yeah.
porta potties, with dumpsters.
Yeah.
There's just different revenue
Revenue
streams that a lot of communities around us are doing that we're not.
Oh, okay. Now, what about like food trucks and stuff like that? You guys?
We do.
Those are
Yeah.
all, all the food
Yeah.
trucks are
Look at
permitted.
food trucks.
Darn, I thought I had
Permanent
one there.
inspected.
Yeah, everything, yeah.
Toilets are an OSHA requirement for all new construction or repairs. So we have to catch up with that.
Yeah, we're in OSHA state now, as of February. Yeah,
Yeah.
February 1st, we became an OSHA state, so.
I know, wish we had a magic wand.
It's in your hand right there.
I know, I wish it was. Okay. Like I said, I think it's pretty cut and dry, really, what you're looking for and exactly why.
Only things we could really level fund are the expenses, the Sharps program, and the animal inspector salary. That's the only thing we have any, we'll see. The COLA and the increase we have to do.
And we're trying to bring the revenue in. There's really not a lot of fluff in that at all.
No.
Yeah, it's hard to, to bring it in with anything significant, because, I mean, it all adds up though, a couple $100 here and there.
Yeah.
But,
No,
The truck trawlers have helped us out a lot.
yeah, the trash workers, yeah.
Because they're fined, or they have to get a permit for the truck, and then they have to do permits for all the other trucks that come in. So it's not just one permit for all the trucks they all individually have.
Each truck has a permit.
Yeah.
So that's been our biggest add-on, which was done 4 years ago.
what does that generate? Just curious.
Oh, I have to go back, and we have,
Half your budget, 30 your budget, quarter? Just
Each
rough.
company is 250, and then
I
every truck's
have to
50.
go back and look at all.
Yeah, so each company, I think, is $250,
Yeah,
and
each
then
company
every
pays
truck that comes in on top of that is
Yeah, each
$50.
truck
Yeah.
is.
Some of them have like 8 trucks, so.
And I think there's like 3 or 4 companies, isn't there, that we,
Yeah, it might
that are in
be
town?
not quite a third, I don't think.
And are we-
25%.
Are we,
Because we still have, perk tests, we have Title V and
Sure.
stuff.
That was another thing we started last year, was a Title V.
Yeah.
We brought that in last year, was a Title V inspections, and that's huge.
so as far as the hauler permits, is that equal to surrounding towns?
Yep.
Yeah, they're very,
Yep,
It is,
Yeah.
okay.
yep. Yep.
All right. Right, I guess you got to keep it competitive, otherwise.
right. And you can't do it too much, because then it just comes back onto the taxpayer.
Right. Right, if you can do things like that and not affect the taxpayer, that's
Right.
that's great. All right. Like I said, it's pretty cut and dry. What you're looking for and exactly why. So, anything else? You guys got anything else?
Nope.
No?
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Have fun.
I hope John's home making supper. He left early.
Yeah, he's downstairs.
Oh, he's down waiting. So I hope he at least takes you out for supper. See you guys.
Hey guys, thank you.
Just a clarification, are we supposed to put the 2% in when we come to you, or is that after the fact? Because it's
You
been
can either, as long as we know if it's in or out, I guess.
Okay.
And that's for the COLA, right?
Yeah.
That's right, Ed? That's what
Yeah.
we're asking them to do, is put it in, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Initially, it was not to put it in.
Well, yeah, because we're going to add it in anyway. I mean, the important part of the drill, shall we say, is like John says, it's in or out, so we're not double dipping. The important part of the message was that it wasn't like the town was looking to not give COLAs again
Right,
for the next
right.
fiscal year. So
Yeah,
we didn't want to
okay.
send a message out that, no raises again.
No, I understand that. I just wasn't
Right.
sure. I thought you guys were going to add it in after the fact.
That was the intent.
I think it's important to, I mentioned this at the last meeting, that the uncontracted employees in town, they didn't get an increase last year, and I think if we want to keep the employees we have, we got to pay them. So, I don't know what else you can do about it, but I know it's got to come from somewhere, but you got to pay the town hall employees or anybody that's working for $14, $15 an hour, $12, $11 an
Yeah,
hour
that's-
next door, so. But,
All right, do we have anything else we need to
So,
discuss?
no, well, I just wanted to verify our agendas for next week. Monday night, I have Board of Assessors, Council on Aging, Finance Team, minutes. And we're going to want to go over the capital budget, I'm assuming, under new business.
We don't have to. That, I think we should keep that separate
Okay.
for now. Because there's nothing pending on that, right, Ed, in the capital budget?
They're still going through it and ranking it at this point.
Okay.
Right.
I gave you the packages just so you could
Right.
see ahead of time what, the requests were.
Right, I think it's more important that we
And
stay
didn't
on,
have any surprises or...
right, I think it's more important that we stay on track to get our budget into the select board.
Okay, so one last thing is, do we want to schedule out for just for, make sure we reserve a room for the 15th? The selectmen meet on the 16th. Do we want to put it on there so we can claim the room just in case we want it? If we don't finish next week? I'm not saying we can't, forget it. It's a holiday.
Holiday, right, we were going to do that already.
So we have to
What
finish
is
next week.
that? Oh, Patriots Day? Is
Yeah,
that
but
what
so
it
we
is?
have to finish next Monday and Tuesday, whatever we're doing, because the selectmen meet the following Tuesday.
Right.
So if we
Are we
get
gonna be-
any PCS or anything, would anybody be available to come in on the 16th, like at 5:30 to sign off, to get them down to them for 6 o'clock?
It's
or-
possible. Yeah,
Well, next week we can, so we had PPV last week. I'll know by the 11th. So I'll sit there and know, on Tuesday the 9th, I'll know ahead, because my agenda for
Okay.
PPV, so then I can reach
Oh,
out
so
to you, and
know
I can
if there's
schedule
gonna
out.
be anything on there, okay.
Yeah, so we'll know.
So tentatively, we'll just put ourselves a note that on the 16th, we may have to meet.
We may have, to sign off on any of those to get them to the...
Now, with the selectmen meet, do we want to, are we going to meet with them, or are we just going to give them our recommendations?
We would meet with them, I believe.
So then I still have to...
I mean, I could just show up and represent as well if we don't have to have a full meeting, but it's pretty much just going to be handing it over anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
With any luck, we'll get it to them well before their meeting, so they have a chance to look at it and compare. Maybe they'll like it, maybe they won't, and
So I will schedule us for 5:30 that night, just in case for PCFs, and if that way, if it ends up there's going to be a quorum of us moving down to the Board of Selectmen,
That's
we are
fine.
now officially out there.
sure, that's fine.
We can pause it and move down. I'm just thinking ahead to make sure, because last time I couldn't get us, there was one of the times where only you two can go, I couldn't go to the meeting, because at that point we couldn't sit there and...
Right,
That's all, thinking ahead.
very good.
By then my brain will have forgotten. Okay. I think,
All right,
so next week we'll have 2 sets of minutes. I apologize, but
No, that's okay.
that's fine.
we have plenty on our calendar anyways.
Yeah, funny how life happens,
Yeah, well, I'm gonna work on the minutes tonight and tomorrow, because on Wednesday,
Is there
talking
a
to shit show.
motion to adjourn?
Motion made to adjourn?
Motion made to adjourn, seconded? Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous.
Heaven forbid the person say no.